It wouldn't do. I must say you're here sooner than expected.
In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest, Chancellor.
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?
The Senate will decide your fate.
I am the Senate.
If the mythic hero is a figure of freedom, the villain he faces often stands as a symbol of tyranny. That tradition is continued in the first 3 episodes of the Star Wars saga, which offer a dark drama of political intrigue and corruption.
Begin landing your troops.
Is that legal?
I will make it legal.
The story draws from more than myth and literature. It reflects a cycle in our own history. The fall of republics and the rise of dictators.
Hundreds of senators are now under the influence of a Sith Lord called Darth Sidious.
It's no longer just a small band of adventurers having fun in a dangerous place, but it's now grown into sort of a geopolitical meltdown. Order! It concerns itself with the corruption of government, with a government that is trying to seize power for itself.
I will be Chancellor.
And so generates these sort of artificial crises that it can then respond to. The threat from outside actually being generated from within.
Wipe them out. All of them.
At the center of the story is the scheming Darth Sidious. Disguised as the kindly Senator Palpatine, he uses the Republic's fears of rebellion and war to gradually seize absolute power.
We know what Lucas draws on a great deal, which is Germany in the 30s, which is the same animal.
Here, there's a very strong analogy. In Star Wars, you have a Chancellor, Palpatine, who wants extraordinary powers. Well, that's exactly what Chancellor Hitler requested in 1933. The so-called Enabling Act basically said, you can do pretty much anything you want. It's an emergency power, naturally, but of course, emergency powers rarely go away.
This is a crisis. The Senate must vote the Chancellor emergency powers. He can then approve the creation of an army.
Dictators always start out saying they're going to help the little guy. It's the big daddy. Here is this powerful person, and he is committed to taking care of me. And these powerful men who represent repression, dictatorship, and evil do have a charisma about them, the charisma of power. Saddam Hussein had terrific, what the military calls, command presence. Walked tall, upright, tended to dominate any landscape he occupied. His message was, follow me, and I'll take care of you. And one can see the attraction.
Naboo's system has been invaded by the droid armies of the Trade.
I object. There is no proof.
You really do see this theme, that is, you see government becoming very, very messy, very, very corrupt. And this goes back to the Roman Empire. Free societies, republics, do not collapse from without until they've destroyed themselves within. The morality necessary to support a free society, of a republic, has to erode.
And hand in hand in that, of course, in ancient Rome is the idea of corruption. The senators themselves growing more concerned with maintaining their own power, and the Senate sort of willing itself almost out of existence.
The Senate is expected to vote more executive powers to the Chancellor today. Be careful of your friend, Palpatine.
Lucas is showing us democracy is fragile. It can always be destroyed from within.
As my first act with this new authority, I will create a grand army of the Republic to counter the increasing threats of the Separatists.
Palpatine's playing both sides because he knows that war means the accumulation of power. And And in a sense, that's what happened in ancient Rome. People like Julius Caesar raised armies that became private armies. And that was really what led to the decline of the Roman Republic.
Star Wars further connects its galactic republic to ancient Rome with scenes like this one. In Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the populace is distracted from the gathering storm of war by spectacles like this high-speed pod race, reminiscent of Roman chariot races. Later in the saga, as Palpatine consolidates his power, the citizens indulge in lurid rituals of sacrifice and slaughter.
There is a reference to gladiatorial combat, such as one finds in ancient Rome. You have the idea that empires can turn to that kind of decadence.
In showing the fall of a republic, Star Wars also reflects the story of Napoleon, who crowned himself emperor after the horrors and chaos of the French Revolution became too much for the French people to bear. Even early American history offers an example of how a republic is vulnerable to the ambitions of the powerful.
It's important to remember that Washington, after the American Revolution, is offered by his officers to replace the Continental Congress and establish a dictatorship. And he says to them, do you truly believe that I led the rebellion against George III in order to become George I? And I think he would find in Star Wars a great deal that he would have agreed with and a great deal that he would have understood.
It's testimony to just how significant Star Wars is, that people see our own society, our own moment reflected in it.
Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy! If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
In Revenge of the Sith, when we hear Anakin say, you're either with me or against me, it's almost impossible not to hear that quote and think of another very famous quote.
Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
Some people say that the new Star Wars trilogy has analogies with Iraq. And I think that that's only very narrowly because Lucas is looking much wider at the Roman Republic and all republics.
Lucas is telling a very familiar historical story. The story of a tyrant who comes to power by exploiting circumstances, by capitalizing on fear, is a story that's been told again and again and again.
In Revenge of the Sith, the hidden evil within Palpatine is made manifest during his battle to the death with Jedi Master Mace Windu.
I am going to end this once and for all.
You can't. He must stand trial.
He has control of the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to be left alive.
No, you will die.
Palpatine is now physicalized evil. He's ugly and crusty and monstrous.
Palpatine becomes the evil emperor. You see the desire for power, the desire for control.
The cunning Palpatine even uses his physical deformity to win sympathy and support as he seizes total power.
The attempt on my life has left me scarred and deformed. But I assure you, my resolve has never been stronger.
Lucas correctly perceives that politics are cyclical, and that there is never a final solution to anything involving the construction of human societies, that they're in a continual process of construction and of self-destruction.
when Palpatine takes over, it's the most chilling thing I'd seen, since the first movie. I mean, I had actual dread in that wonderful shot where they're coming down on him and everybody's cheering.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
There's a timeless moral that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We have to safeguard democracy. That threat is always there.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.